大家好，我是刘正正, and today we are going to be officially beginning the Mincheng principle, in which it has to be through the application in the United States. I'm going to be talking a lot regarding issues in the States, and I'm going to do my best in order to have the research and to have the accuracy in exactly what's happening. We'll be talking exactly about what is Mincheng, the principle of livelihood, especially when it comes to the United States. So, the Mincheng, or the principle of livelihood, was an essential goal of Sun Yat-sen, in which he believed it was necessary to protect the Chinese state from a position of a pseudo-colony to that of a world power. He wanted China to not be seen as weak, but instead to become a world power equal to that of other world powers at the time. So that includes the United States, Germany, Russia, Japan, France, and Italy. The thing about the principle, right, is that it mainly focused on issues that China had during this time period in the 20th century. There was a lack of education, there was a lack of proper military power, a lack of government organization. This is a result of the warlord era. And the United States, of course, is not going through this period. The United States in this time is more very how should I say it seems very faltering. Like the United States in terms of its government, its policies, and especially through COVID-19, it just feels like everything has been faltering. And those are things that need to be changed. It doesn't feel like those type of things are going through some sort of reformation or any change at all. It feels very stagnant, but also the continuation of status quo. Status quo in a lot of things, it's not necessarily bad unless there is issues ongoing that need to be fixed. And majority of times there are issues that are continually going on. And the thing about the whole application of these ideas is not really a bad thing either. Because ideas and application of policies and law are things that are just adopted from many other countries. The United States, for example, is not the most original of states. A lot of ideas that are essential to America itself come from Europe. People like John Locke or Montesquieu, they built up the ideas like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the separation of powers. Many of which, such as the separation of powers, is applied and applicable across the majority of the world. There is the judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. Another example of this application, but in like an appliance towards that specific country itself, is China. China has a separation of powers as well, but they have the addition of the auditory branch and the examination branch. These two additional branches create a five power system of government, which is special to China itself. No other country, as far as I know, has that kind of system. And let's take continuing back to Europe, for example, they have a constitutional monarchy. Many countries in Europe have this type of system, most notably United Kingdom, Norway, and Sweden. But we must question this issue. Why is livelihood so important in the United States? Well, let's see what issues we have. We have bad infrastructure. Our healthcare is in shambles, and there is a large growing concern about racial hate. There is a lot of issues in this country. Many of these issues that we have in this country, they seem to be systematic, but majority of it is just social. And a lot of the changes we can do is based off of the people, not necessarily the laws and policies. There are laws and policies in this country that, yes, they are a big concern. But the majority of those policies affect everyone. It's not just a specific group or anything like that. It affects a majority of Americans, especially working middle class. And as a result, we need to, talk about these things, be open about them, and talk as one, to other people as individuals. A big concern in the United States, especially, is that when people talk politics it's always based off of their political party. And that really muddles the ability for people to debate properly, but also to be honest and to be open about other ideas. If you talk based off of party lines or specific political groups or ideologies, then you will tend to have a harder time talking about things like healthcare, military, gun rights, or even free speech for that matter, especially if the people you talk with coin in and are really open exactly what their ideology is. There tends to be a lot of bias. Even when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, a lot of ideas and issues that Democrats and Republicans want to resolve, they tend to not be resolved because of the lack of bipartisanship and the whole political debate, just only purely because of political parties. There is a famous quote that everyone brings up about George Washington, how he did not believe that the United States should be solely focused on political parties. In theory, it is a good idea, but in practice, you will not be able to have issues and policies and laws and problems resolved into solutions if you do not have a basic structure. You as an individual will have a hard time than as you as a collective, especially when it comes to politics. You're gonna have to talk to people on the individual level rather than the party level. But when it comes to debate, I do believe it is necessary that we do not have these political boundaries when talking to one another, or else we won't be able to be honest with what we believe in, and it will be harder to be open-minded when talking about these issues to other people. As I said, mainly because of those biases. And this is where the whole topic of livelihood comes in. We need to really be open to each other in order to talk about these issues and in order to resolve them. To literally denounce what someone else says just because of their political beliefs or because of their political party, because they're socialist, just because they're libertarian, just because they're social democrat. It's negating the purposes. This literally negates the purposes of free speech and of the freedom to be politically open-minded and to be politically active. It goes against the base value of democracy. And so this is where the issues we can start talking about. I'm going to be reviewing over a lot of things, and a lot of them will be revised and changed along the way. So the base things I do say now, there might be more or a little bit less subtracted based off of the issue at hand, and if they are actively being resolved now or if new issues come up. I'm going to do my best to explain as much as I can and in a reasonable amount of time as well to you guys. The most important of which I believe revolve around economic issues and government policies. And these government policies that I want to focus on will be mostly regard to, again, economy, but also what people consider as socialist values. So these quote-unquote socialist policies that we have in the States include Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and other things to help those who are impoverished in this country. Now, I won't get too much into it because right now my main focus today isn't really to explain in depth on what the issues are or how to fix them. It's more to state exactly what I plan to talk about and what people need to do in this country. This is more focused on towards the personal level, towards people, not the policies, not the government. That will be focused on and talked about on a later date. Today, I only want to focus on you, your family, your community, your state, and any other individual in this country. Because a lot of issues that we face come majority from the personal level. And it's especially these issues that can be fixed because people decide to be better people. A lot of issues that we have in this country cannot be fixed by adding in a new law. They have to be fixed by a change of mindset and a change of how people perceive one another. I do want to talk about media as well in this country, though I believe this is something for another topic, especially when it comes to personal values. There is nothing wrong if the media decides to have opinionated posts and opinionated reporting. But when it comes down to it, if there is an agenda that they are trying to push, then it will end badly. Not for them, but for us the people. What they do affects us in a negative way, especially if what they push is harmful and has a negative result and effect towards the people, whether it's a specific group or a specific idea. This is mainly as a result of the Cold War. This is mainly done as a bulwark against communism, and that's similar idea to always having to fight something in the news just continued on. But instead of just communism, it has gone against other ideas as well, or other people, whether specific people or specific groups themselves. The main issue at hand with the media itself is how they tend to become aggressive, very emotional, and very opinionated on subjects that they shouldn't be doing that in. The media should have some sort of form of professionalism, but in the past 20-30 years, it seems to be going down and down and down towards the point that you're gonna find better news from regular people. You're gonna find more accurate things, more honest commenting from other people. And the thing is that people apparently don't trust the news in this country, yet people still believe it, and a large majority seem to. In a way, it is true that possibly those groups are just a more vocal minority, but you really feel it, especially if you see it all the time. It seems like a lot of regular old people tend to follow the news, trust the news, and take it as fact, especially those, even if the news that was posted is opinionated or not. And that is damaging to this country. That is why we have such strong partisanship in this country in the past couple of years. Like, the news has played a major role in the way people act and think towards other people who are different from themselves. It doesn't matter if that difference is your skin color or your gender or your sexual identity. It goes beyond that into what you believe in too, your religion, your culture, even your political ideas. And people get silenced because of that by other people. This is a democracy, and you have the right to your freedom of speech. And yes, people will not agree with you, that's fine. But you do still have a right to say what you believe in, no matter who you are. And that's where the Minchung principle, the principle of livelihood, comes into true factor. The United States is not the same as China. We have different cultural values, different traditions, and different history. Yes, some of it is interconnected, but majority of it is not. The United States has this belief that to say what you believe in, as long as it's not to hurt someone, is fine and is supposed to be openly accepted. But in a way, it doesn't feel like that right now. Just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean they don't have a right to speak. If they have different ideas on how to fix something, they should be open just as much as you are to talk about it, to talk about their ideas. And that's important, not only for yourself, but for other people and for the benefit of the country. That's how ideas are made. That's how innovation occurs. Differing ideas and the ability to speak those out. I've lived here my whole life. I was born in the United States. I've lived here for all my 18 years. And in the past 4 or 5 years, it's not really been a positive thing. It feels it's gone worse. Yes, economically we used to be doing pretty well, but especially with COVID-19, the United States hasn't been doing that well. Let's be honest. And we won't be doing well again up until the pandemic is over. But we still have issues to deal with. We still have to talk about them. We need to fix our infrastructure. We have old railway systems that need to be updated. Our roads are always covered in potholes, and our roads feel really bad. They are not in the best condition either. And the system in which was supposed to fund and maintain the highways and the roads is not able to keep up. It was made years ago, in a time where the value of money was different than in our present day. The other major issue we need to talk about is government programs. Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and every other aid to support those who are impoverished. They, to say the least, is inefficient. And as a result, the system we have created in order to prop these programs up, it has also affected the private sector as well. Healthcare in this country is extremely expensive, in part as a result of the Medicare and Medicaid system. Other issues we also need to talk about: immigration. The border situation with Mexico has always been a hotly debated topic for decades now. But especially in recent years, and the treatment of people along the border isn't something that should be looked down upon or to just gloss over. It's a big issue. And people still come to this country to migrate, to work, and to live here. Some only come here to work and then, go back home to wherever it is after their work period is done through the green card system. We have a lot of illegal immigrants who live in this country. It doesn't really matter how they came here. What matters is that they're here. And we have a lot of them. Depending on whatever statistic that you believe in, it's going to be between 10 million to 20 million usually. But we have a lot of them. And a lot of them tend to be impoverished and are also able to reap the benefits of our public system, especially when it comes to healthcare, and that's affecting taxpayers in this country. There are two major solutions that have been proposed, but how are we going to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in, in the future? Whether that's going to be allowing them to have an easier time getting a citizenship, or to have more friendly border policies with Mexico. And here comes the hotly debated topic of military. Yes, the military has an effect on your life. For every taxpayer dollar spent on the military while we're at war, means another tax dollar spent on something that could have went to help benefit the people at home. Yes, the military does need financial support, and yes, we do need to support our troops abroad. But we have been at war for almost 20 years. Since the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is coming. We've been at war for almost that same amount of time. And there seems to be no stopping it. So when are we going to stop? Politicians make a lot of promises, but a lot of them are not kept. And sometimes we vote them back in, hoping that they'll follow through with what they originally planned. How much can you do in 4 years? Maybe 2 years, subtracting the fact that you have to go campaign again. A lot of what we have to do and have to change will have to come from the local state level. Like the whole decriminalization of marijuana in this country has come from the state level. Massachusetts, Colorado, California, and many other states have begun decriminalizing marijuana to some extent and to some degree for many years now, and more states have been slowly joining in this trend. There's nothing that the federal government has done regarding the decriminalization of marijuana. It's still technically illegal under federal law. And that's something that, for people who want change, you must understand. We cannot make the federal government do everything we want. If you want something done, it's easier to get done from the state level. And once it begins on the state level and it's solidified into law, there is a chance it can spread to other states to apply similar policies. It's going to be much easier for the United States to make changes by state to state. The state overall tends to have more openness on what they're able to do than the federal government. And many laws have shown that even though something is federally illegal, states are able to redefine that and make them legal. Or even the opposite way, something legal on the federal government is illegal on the state level. We have really serious issues to deal with, and we can be able to make those changes. We cannot make those changes nationally. Majority of it will have to be done through the state. And I will do my absolute best to write something and talk through these upcoming lectures that I will be providing for you guys. Policies that I will focus on are going to be mostly national, and the solutions through the lens of a national scale. But you must understand that we have to do this on the local scale, from state to state. The only reason why I'm doing this from the national outlook is because I'm not going to speak 50 different times and apply it for 50 different states. That's going to take me forever. So instead, I will be talking from the national scale. I will be writing a document based off of what I say in these lectures. There will be some edits, just as how I edit this video, in order to make it more constructive and in a way that makes sense on paper rather than through voice. Because I will be having a paper version of it on a document. I'll be honest, I am really excited to be talking to you guys about these topics. I will be posting as often as I can about this, as soon as possible. I've done a lot of research already, and all I have to do now is to organize it into a cohesive manner from lecture to lecture. I also have to do the editing. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope people can see this, and I hope that what I say is meaningful and you understand it from the point of view that I'm trying to provide. We have 300 million of us out there. I'm here to provide another option in hopes that what happens in the near future, in the next 20, 30 years or so, can help move this country again. In the end, we're all in this together, and if the ship sinks, the majority of us are going to be going down with it. And if we let this country burn, then we're going to end up burning with it too. So let's work together. Alright guys, let's work together and make this country better. We don't have to make it great, just at least better. 再见.